All right. Time for a serious talk. What up, guys? Welcome back. This episode is something that's been hot in the news right now. It's about abortion because apparently a bunch of old white dudes think that it's their job to tell women what they can do with their insides. And we both have been talking about it, much like I think everyone else has been talking about it. I felt like it would be something worth addressing on the show because, I don't know, it's just up to me. So I wanted to ask you, like, what your take is, like, on abortion in general.
My take on abortion in general as a whole?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to preface this by, I think every woman should decide what happens to their bodies. I don't think it's anybody else's decision. When it comes to abortion, like in cases of rape or, sexual assault, that side of things, I agree with abortion. I don't agree with abortion when it comes to people using it as birth control or anything like that. And that's just what I believe. I don't think that it's something where, oops, I made a mistake. I don't agree with it, but I would never tell that person that they couldn't have an abortion.
Right.
So for me, I think that abortion, God, for lack of a better word, a good thing for somebody to have in order to deal with things. I don't know how to put it. It's like such a touchy subject that I don't, I feel like I'm censoring myself in a sense.
Yeah.
I don't agree with abortion to just be having abortions left and right, but I also don't think that anybody should tell somebody what to do with it. Am I making sense?
No, I think you're making sense because that's how I feel about it too. And I also think what was crazy to me was the fact that like a bunch of men got together and made this decision.
Yeah.
And then a lot of them, they have like these quotes of stuff that these guys said, and it's so outlandish that you're like, you don't even know how women's reproductive systems work.
No.
Let alone should you be able to say what they can do with them, because you don't even know what you're talking about.
For real.
And that was what really like bothered me about it. And then
no, I agree with that. And I think, so to go back to your question, sex is a natural thing, it's a beautiful thing, people should be having sex, great. But I also feel like there's a responsibility that you have when you are having sex. And we were just talking about this the other day. Like, you really do have to try
to get somebody pregnant.
Like, so to me, I do know some people who have had lots and lots of abortions.
Wow.
Lots of them. But then it's like you talk to them about sex and they're like, oh, yeah, never use condom, never use protection.
Bruh. See,
just you like,
yeah,
and to me that's being irresponsible. So I guess that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know, I don't want to make anybody feel bad about stuff, but at the same time I don't agree with people that use abortion for birth control, but it's also none of my damn business what somebody does with their body, and I guess that's my opinion on it.
Just to like go back to that point, I think the bigger issue is like the education of it, because
absolutely,
I remember being in high school and like
that's a big topic around this conversation.
And it should be, because like I remember being in high school a freshman, and this girl was from a Catholic school, like came to our school from a Catholic junior high, and she had this guy that was her boyfriend, and they were doing it, and she was worried about getting pregnant. And I was like, well, why don't you just use condoms? And she was like, that's against my religion. And I was like, I think you before you're married is against your religion too. So like, why are you half-assing it? But then it was just like, this is crazy. Like, this lack of education is crazy, and it's causing these other issues because you guys are acting like this isn't going to happen anyway. And then once I found out at like in my 30s what really happens in an abortion, like it was completely different than what I thought it was. And then it dawned on me that like that was something that we never even were really taught either. You're just kind of taught what the purpose of it is, but you're not really taught what occurs when it happens, because they kind of act like it's this taboo thing that you're not supposed to even get to that point anyway. And it's another thing that I think would probably happen less if you knew that's what you're in for, if you think that is a method of birth control, because it ain't just some easy like snapperoo of a thing to happen.
And I mean, like, to go back off of the against religion thing, I mean, this is a different video, a different topic that we can go into that, because I can talk for like an hour on that, because I think that is a big reason of poverty that's happening in the Philippines, is literally that. In really poverty-stricken areas of the Philippines, you know, the Catholic Church has such a stronghold over there that they stop people that are trying to help, you know, and educate people on condoms and stuff because of exactly that. It's against their religion. But it's like, do you not think that people are f***ing, like, you don't think people are having sex? You stop these agencies that try to help these areas, these people that are already poor, and then they're going to have sex and just create more people to also be poor, and it's this terrible cycle. It's so frustrating.
Like, I read, it was like a series of tweets, and this girl was saying how economically they're doing this for economic reasons, because millennials and kids younger than that aren't really having kids because we can't afford it, because we're in debt out the ass. And like wages aren't going up, but the cost of living is. So in order to basically force people to have kids, they're making it basically illegal to get abortions, because they need people to keep this economy going. And they don't want to let immigrants in, so they're like forcing people to have kids because they just need bodies. It seemed kind of conspiracy theory-ish, but it also doesn't seem that far-fetched either.
No, not at all.
And it doesn't seem any more far-fetched than the fact that a bunch of dudes got together in a room and decided what women can,
I mean,
can and can't
it's
do.
very Handmaid's Tale. It's
very.
Really freaky.
And
it freaks me out.
I said that too. Like, I made this status that, like, science fiction, a lot of people don't like it because they think it's like nerd stuff or whatever, but it's a thing where these people have been predicting the future for decades. It's just a study of human nature and like seeing the progression of how it's going to go. So like Handmaid's Tale is a science fiction show, but a lot of the stuff that's happening there is not that far off at all.
No.
And now we're seeing that it really, really is not that far off. And it's crazy to me.
Terrifying. Especially that show's so heavy. If you don't watch that show now, I mean, watch it, but just have like cartoons lined up. Like,
seriously,
in the interim, because every time I watch an episode of that show, it's just like,
you need a palate cleanser after that. You went to Catholic school.
I did.
Because you went to Catholic school here. It wasn't like in the Philippines. It was in the United States.
Right.
What did they teach you, if anything, as far as that goes?
More so anatomy. It was more the anatomy of it than really the act of it. So it was, you know, learning body parts and that type of stuff. So, but it was done in a way that was so...
It was like very sciencey.
Like, we treat sex so weird in this country. You know? We treat sex very, like... like, when you're that age, that's what it is. Like, you laugh about it. You know, it's funny to you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking about back then. I really don't know what sex ed is like right now. But back then, it was, people just were more hush about it. They didn't really want to talk about it.
Yeah.
It was like uncomfortable for people. I mean, even like, to me, I feel like we should learn about masturbation like early too. You know, they're not teaching it, and if people are more educated, then they would have the proper tools to make like better decisions.
Facts.
With everything.
I saw recently on Fox, they had this guy, Pete Buttigieg. He's like one of the Democratic candidates on there. And they asked him about abortion and like what he thinks about it. The host brought up late term abortion, like this third trimester stuff. Ever since I've been hearing about that, at first I thought it was like something people made up just to say like they're killing babies, like all crazy. But now that, okay, this is a thing that's actually happening, and he brought it up, and Pete was like, yeah, it counts for less than 1% of like the abortions that happen are like that. So like, let's put that out there first. And then he was like, second of all, if a woman is carrying a baby that far, she probably wants it. So if she's having to have an abortion, more than likely it's because it's a risk to the baby's health or to her own health. And it's probably one of the hardest decisions that she ever has to make in her life.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I don't think it's the government's place to tell her what to do or that she can't make that decision, because she's not doing it because she's irresponsible. She's doing it for some other reason if she carried it that far in the first place. And I had never thought about it that way. And I feel like a lot of people hadn't thought about it that way. Mm-hmm. He ended up getting like a standing ovation at the end of his town hall.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if it was for that, but like just in general, like a lot of the things that he was saying just were common sense sort of things. To me, the hard part of it, because I feel the way I feel about it, but then I try to put myself in other people's shoes and be like, okay, where are you coming from? And as far as it being like a human life and you wanting to respect it and decide what point it becomes that and whatever, like, all right, fine. It's also still at the end of the day, like, you can't really call that. You can't come over here and tell me what to do, even if you don't agree with it. And then for you to sit up here, like these government officials to sit up here and try to frame it in this way where they're trying to pretend that's what they care about. It's like, y'all are the same people putting kids in a cage. So like, to say you care about a kid or children's life or whatever, like, spare me with that. You know what I mean?
No. Like, miss me with the bullshit, really. Like, you can miss me with all of that, because that argument is just dumb. I mean, like, all you need to do is look at the border and see what the is happening, or even go to poverty-stricken areas in any major U.S. city, like, and then talk to me about you really care about the kids. Like, I don't, like, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. So yeah, y'all can go fuck yourselves. Right now it's abortion, and it's happening in these, few states, and it's like, what's next? To me, that is the scariest part, is the government is putting a sense of control on to women's bodies. Like, think about that. Like someone else is controlling what you can and cannot do with your own body. That is the most fucked up and ass backwards thing. Like, I really do feel like I'm in some sort of, like, when I see those headlines, when I scroll past on social media and I see those headlines, like, my mind is blown. Like, I just can't believe that we live in a world right now where that is a thing.
And I don't think I mean, and it's one of those things where you kind of are in this echo chamber depending on who you talk to, because most of the women that I know are like, liberal on that side of it. I don't really see anybody justifying that they're cool with a bunch of dudes.
No, that's stupid too. Like,
even if they are religious and don't believe in abortion.
No, that is one of the most messed up things. That it is a bunch of dudes that decided on this. My thing is this: you don't have to like abortion. If you don't like abortion, don't get an abortion then. But don't tell people if they can and cannot. Like, to me, it's that simple.
Especially when you can't even have an abortion if you wanted to, because you're a dude. You can't even get pregnant. How are you going to tell somebody else what they can't do? That's so, like, mind-boggling.
But that's what I'm talking about. That's literally what I'm talking about. Like, I don't like beer. Okay? I don't like beer.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell people not to drink beer, right? Drink all the beer that you want. I mean, I'm not trying to make light of this situation, but it's that's how asinine it sounds to me.
Nah, I agree.
Like, oh no, abortion is so bad. And like, you're not going to have any.
So shut the
And people think at the end of the day that this is just gonna really affect a lot of already poverty-stricken women. A lot of women of color. You think that you putting this law in place is really going to stop people from having abortions? It's not. People are gonna go and do it illegally
and get all kind of diseases and who knows what.
Well, what I was gonna say was to go off of like tweets. You said you saw a tweet. I saw a tweet too about a woman can have sex with 100 men within a span of a year and still only get pregnant once, but a guy can have sex with 100 women and literally
make 100
babies. So why are we regulating women again? Snip, snip, y'all.
I usually try to avoid political stuff
That's true.
on here because I don't want to make anybody feel like they're not included in this. But this was a thing to me that was an issue that more men needed to stand up for and more men needed to talk about and like show that they sided with the right side, I think. It's really crazy to me that we have that kind of power in this country and in this system that they can make that choice for people who go through something that they'll never go through. Like, that's crazy to me. So it's like, if they're going to do that, like, I'm going to do my part in doing the opposite of it. Just be whatever I can. And I think more of us need to do that because I'm not trying to live in Handmaid's Tale world. Like, that shit is insane.
Yeah, bruh.
Like, there's nothing cool about that to me.
No.
Anybody who has a mom or a sister, an aunt, whoever, you need to stand up for all of them because they're all being oppressed by dudes at the end of the day. Because this is just a couple of states right now, but this clearly can escalate very quickly. So
I mean, yeah, it can.
It already is. Like,
and that's the thing is, you know, we have to stand up for people in those states. Like, we have to come together and get behind those people because that's just the start of something. Like, it can spread like wildfire. These type of ideals and things can literally spread like wildfire, and we're not having that. So to me, you know, there's so many different things that you can do and, you know, research upon. I always say, like, get behind an organization that you believe in. For me, it's the ACLU, so shout out to them.
keep your voice heard.
Yes.
Vote big time on that. Any small election, whatever it is,
it all matters.
All that matters now because
Absolutely.
They're playing this game in a totally new way, and it's starting with the little guys and going up to the top, and crazy shit is happening. So make sure you're paying attention to what people are saying that are out here trying to have control over stuff. Because there's people out here that are doing good stuff and that have good stuff to say, and there's maniacs out here that are in the same running right up against them and that can easily take power. A lot of them. And I mean, y'all see how it is already right now. There's a lot of maniacs out here and stuff that is like pedophiles that are getting voted into Congress or whatever, like, known. And it's just like, how is this shit happening? Like, it doesn't make sense. So it's at a tipping point now where either we do something or we don't, and it's a wrap.
Take action. Yeah, I agree with you, man. And I think it's so important, you know, vote, take action, do what you can within your community. If you have a platform, use it. Man. You know, and for us, that's why we wanted to do this. Like he said, we don't really dive into politics like this, but it is important for us to use the platform we have, you know, to say what we need to say. Because we're all connected and we're all in this together. Everybody always talks about, you know, being in a bubble in certain major cities and stuff. And I agree with that. I agree with that, you know, to an extent. And so that's why I wanted to stay woke, but I hate that. But I try to stay in touch with everything that's happening, you know, because you don't want to just live in your bubble because there's other people that are out there that could as well been me that are affected by these things, you know? So I think it's important to, like I said, use your voice, use your platform, and hopefully, like, speak up, stand up for the people that might not have a voice or a platform.
That's it. Make sure you share this, spread the word, because that's what matters. We'll see y'all.
And let's get that gone. Like, that needs to go.
Seriously.
Fuck that shit. I'm gonna cuss the fuck out of this. Tony's gonna have to fucking censor all this shit, but fuck that shit. Fuck all of that shit. Done.
Mic drop.